Hey everybody, welcome back to the K2N Online Paddle School. We're back here on YouTube, and this week we're trying to break down how to help you stop paddling like a robot and try to be more fluid with your motion. Before we can fix paddling like a robot, we should try to take a second to understand where it comes from. One of the biggest reasons that we see robotic paddling stems from team paddling sports in particular. Segmenting the stroke into very particular parts that you go through in a very 1, 2, 3, 4 order dictates that your movement will be choppy. Now, this is a great tool, especially in team paddling, because that choppiness allows a large number of paddlers to synchronize together. So it's almost like the military, where it's hut, 2, 3, 4, hut, 2, 3, 4, and inside that rhythm we can get together here or at the end of the stroke. That choppiness is now a benefit in finding synchronization. And the second way that robotic paddling would reveal itself is just having a lack of understanding of the movement and your body's ability to do it. As we go through motion, we try to do things in a very literal way. So our inability to move the whole body in synchronization with every single joint will lose that fluidity, and it will reveal a lot of this choppiness within a stroke. So when fixing these ideas, we have to understand that a stroke is a singular movement that we are trying to create. When we segment the stroke, it's easy for our mind to break down, hey, I'm working on my setup, or my catch, or the power phase, or the exit, or the recovery. So now I've broken the stroke down into multiple little parts. But when you are going through this motion, you're not going through a setup, a catch, a power, an exit, and a recovery. You're going through a stroke. Understanding that big concept allows you to find the fluidity, right? If you segment your motion, you will always be herky-jerky as you complete a stroke. But the end goal is to put all the pieces together into one rhythmic motion. When you are paddling by yourself, especially, you don't need to be herky-jerky to keep seat 10 with you in your paddle stroke synchronization, because you're by yourself now. So next, we'll go through how the stroke is segmented and some cues to help you try to remedy these ideas. When we look at fluidity, a good thing to keep in mind is that our body is never stopped. We are always constantly moving between the front of the stroke, the end of the stroke, and then the next stroke. So there are points within the movement where we will try to stop our movement, and that's what makes us look very herky-jerky or robotic. Starting at the front of the stroke, paddlers that have a pause before they go into the stroke, right? This is one of the motions. So if I go through and I pause, then go through, pause, then go through, pause, then go through, I instantly lose my fluidity because I'm stopping at the front. Again, in a team dynamic, we can all synchronize at this small pause before we go into the stroke. But ultimately, when we go through a stroke, when my blade exits behind me, I just want to go right into the water each time. And I don't want to stop there. I just want to go right into the next stroke and just go through these motions unhindered. Fluidity is power. In this sense, as I go through here and stop, I stop my body's momentum. As I am moving my shoulders and moving my weight back and forth, I am putting some dynamic motion into the water. If I have all this dynamic motion and stop, it means that my connection with the water as I start the stroke is incredibly limited. When I throw a punch, I don't just stop here because the transfer of energy has been lost. So if I segment my motion to go into 2 parts, really the part that I'm going through here is by itself as opposed to powered by the entire motion. So going through stopping right before the point of contact, then following through, would be ridiculous. But we literally see that within a paddle stroke constantly, where people stop their momentum, then go into the stroke with limited force. The next one would be not trying to use your tool to grab water until the entire blade is in the water. Now we have this robotic motion where we have to put the blade in slowly before pushing harder later into the stroke. So as I go through, it'd be slow, then fast, and slow and fast. and it gives away a lot of the fluidity. We want this motion to be very cyclical and very evenly distributed throughout. So as I go through and start the stroke, I just want to go through in a solid and fluid motion each time. There is no reason to stop or slow down or to wait and grab water. Waiting is the game that we do not want to play. Fluidity is going right to where the blade is effective and right where you are effective. Waiting for something slows you down and it loses how smooth you can move. The last one with the canoe stroke is at the exit. As we go through, we understand that we're trying to move our joints and to push our hand to a certain point. At a certain movement and a certain time within the stroke, I can't move my body anymore. So my hand is now done with the stroke here, right? But you will see paddlers that will continue pushing their top hand down independently of their body. So you can see my shoulders, my hips, my legs, they don't move, but my hand will continue to drop here in order to complete the stroke. Now this is bad because it slows down the stroke a lot. When I'm using my hips, I can get through that force in the water fairly quickly. But now when I get to the end and I only push with my hand, this is incredibly slow. And this also slows down the canoe for a moment. Paddlers will push down with their top hand until the blade exits the water. Then when the blade is in the air, they will start the next stroke. So you're very fluid all the way to a point that comes to a screeching halt. Then the blade comes out of the water, and then the fluidity will reveal itself again. So when I get to the exit phase of the stroke, I understand that my shoulders are done moving, my legs are done moving, my hand can't push down anymore without breaking away from my body, and the blade will still be in the water. What I want to do to keep my fluidity is to turn my shoulders and to lift my top hand back up and bring the paddle forward. So we get this effect of the paddle never stopping its movement. As I go through this motion, I have a fluid range of motion that I'm going through, and I never stop. If I were to stop, it would look something like this. And you can see at the end, I lose a lot of my fluidity because of my exit hand and its pathing. Getting to the end of your stroke and ripping the blade forward will give you this effect of just gliding from one stroke to the next. The last factor that will add to this is how fast your hands are moving through a stroke. If your hands move faster than your torso does and you begin arm paddling, you will get this very robotic and herky-jerky motion, and we can visually identify this by watching somebody even with no knowledge of the sport, right? We can identify that the hands moving faster than their body is an unnatural look. So as I go through the motion, if I'm timing all of my body motion with my shoulders and my legs, you get this nice smooth looking effect. But if my arms start moving faster than my torso, you can see I look a little bit more strained and the motion itself loses that fluidity. And again, this stems from not having a mastery of your motion. If I can't move my hips, now I can only move my arms. And if I'm only moving my arms, where do I put my arms? And now as I go through the stroke, you can end up in all these really weird places and your stroke will never look like you have any mastery over it. So spending the time moving your larger joints and allowing the smaller joints to move after those larger joints, again, will give you this smooth effect that we're looking for. Excellent. Hopefully that was insightful to help you smooth out your paddle stroke. The ultimate compliment that you can get is by going fast and having somebody watch you and simply say, you make it look easy. You make it look effortless. Internally, you're working incredibly hard, but if somebody visually can look at you and just say, it looks like you're not even working hard, it means that you have this efficiency down. Your motion never stops. You're not segmenting your stroke. Your movement and pathing with the arms is preset. You're using your larger joints in timing with your smaller joints. All of these ideas come together for that simple compliment. Even when somebody is not a paddler, they can look at you and say, wow, you look like you're working hard. This means they can see the inefficiency, right? Being able to smooth this out makes you a more effective racer in every context. If you need some more details on how to go through the stroke, how to segment it all together, and how to put the pieces into the perfect place, check out the K2NOnlinePaddleSchool.com today. We have over 300 videos, and we also offer coaching programs to allow my interaction with you to help you put those pieces together and get better this racing season. We have all kinds of remote tools. I can write you up workouts. I can watch your paddle stroke via video, giving video reviews. We can do video calls. There are all kinds of tools that we have at our disposal to make sure that our interaction benefits your technique. Big shout out to all of our YouTube members, and their name will appear here. If you are a YouTube member, you got to watch this video almost 2 weeks early. I'm getting ahead of schedule on a lot of these videos. It is $2.99 a month to sign up for the YouTube membership. It is a small fee, but it is a big help towards this YouTube channel. Thank you all to everybody that has signed up for the YouTube channel. If there are any topics that you would like to see discussed, feel free to leave a comment or reach out anytime. If you would like me to come to you and to hold a camp or a clinic, feel free to reach out. If you can organize the group, I can make the traveling arrangements to be where you're at. If you want to come here to Hernando and paddle, even if it's freezing cold or if it's super hot, whatever it is, if you want to come down, we have boats and I will make the time to paddle with you. I coach 7 days a week, so if you want to come down during the weekdays, I am available as much as you want to paddle. Thank you all so much, and we'll see you all next week for next week's paddle tip video.